Students, in this session, I am going to explain grid security infrastructure. Grid security is based on grid infrastructure which follows Global Grid Forum standard. Before entering into the topic, we must know what is infrastructure. In computing, infrastructure is nothing but the collection of hardware, software, networks, data centers, etc. As like other infrastructure, grid security infrastructure is also a set of tools, libraries and protocols used in grid middleware. Grid security infrastructures allows the users and applications to access the resources securely. So the users are accessing the resources via grid security infrastructure. GSI is based on public key infrastructure with certificate authorities and X509 certificates. We have already have some idea about CA and X.509 certificates. So GSI provides privacy, integrity and authentication. Here I want to mention the use of public key infrastructure. It is a set of roles, policies, hardware and software procedures needed to create, manage, distribute, use and store and revoke digital certificates and manage public key encryption. Smart cards and digital cash and secure transfer and voting are good examples which are using PKI. Here is the outline of grid security infrastructure diagram. The important three components are PKI, SSL or TLS protocols, proxies and delegation. PKI you know about very clearly about PKI, that is public key infrastructure. In public key infrastructure, the two keys are used are private and public. Public key is known by both the sender and receiver, whereas the private key is owned by the owner, usually the receiver. So by having that private key, the receiver can easily decrypt the data so that the greater integrity and confidentiality is achieved in PKI. The next is SSL and TLS. SSL refers to secure sockets layer, whereas TLS refers to transport layer security. Both SSL and TLS are cryptographic protocols that authenticate data transfer between server systems, applications and users. And finally, the top of PKI and SSL is proxies and delegation, which are mainly used for secure and single sign-on. GSI provides mutual authentication through digital certificates. Here, digital signature guarantees authentication. Mutual authentication means both the sender and receiver must authenticate each other. So, the authentication is carried out via certificates. That means the certificate authority is issuing certificate to both the sender and receiver. When the sender wants to communicate with the receiver or any other remote party, the sender must establish trust in the remote party, and at the same time the receiver also establish trust on the sender to receive communication from him. Here trust means trust the certificates produced by the certificate authority. Otherwise, no trust can exist between the parties. The next is credential delegation and a single sign-on. Credentials can be digital documents used in authentication that bind an identity. Credentials are verified when presented to the verifier in an authentication transaction. Generally, credentials are simply username and password used for logging into any network or system. So, certificate-based credentials are smart card and other similar devices. GSI allows a user to create and delegate proxy credentials to processes running on remote resources. This is important for complex applications that need to use a variety of remote resources. Proxy credentials are used for remote login, which are short-lived and unencrypted. Short-lived means they are just like an OTP. They live only for few minutes or very short period, and automatically after the time is over it will be destroyed. Unencrypted form, it means they are used as it is. Why it is used in unencrypted form? Because it is live only for short period. So the user identity is used alternative to the private key in its original form. JSI uses single sign-on feature which simplifies the coordination of multiple resources. That is, a user authenticate once and can then perform multiple actions without further authentication. In addition, the system allows processes to act on the user's behalf without further authentication. Next comes the authorization. Before entering into the authorization, I want to differentiate in simple words both the terms authentication and authorization. Authentication is the process of verifying who is the user, that is validating our credentials, while authorization is the process of verifying what they have access to. Here there are three authorization modes used by the client side authorization technique and server side authorization technique. And let us see server side authorization. The three modes used by server side authorization are none, self and grid map. None means there is no authorization will be performed. Self means the client's identity is compared or checked against the service identity. And the third mode is grid map. The grid map file contains list of authorized users that is similar to the ACL. Here only the users listed in the service grid map file may use it. The next is client side authorization. The three modes used in this authorization are none, self and host. The first two authorization modes are similar to the server side. That is, none means there will be no authorization performed. In self, the client will authorize an invocation if the service identity is same as the client identity. The last one is the host. In this mode, the client will authorize a security request if the host returns an identity containing the host name. This is done using host certificates. The next is requesting a certificate. Here, to request a certificate, a user starts by generating a key pair, that is private key and public key. The private key is stored in an encrypted form secured with the passphrase. The public key is generated by usually the receiver, and the receiver sent the public key to the certificate authority, and the certificate authority will send this key to the sender. Along with the certificate authority, one more authority is involved here, that is registration authority. The registration authority verify the request by ensuring the facts, that is the credentials of the sender and receiver, and he verify these things against the certificate authority's information, and he will give permission to the certificate authority to sign in the certificate, and finally the certificate is sent to the user. Mutual authentication. The GSI uses secure socket layers, that is SSL, for its mutual authentication protocol. We know that mutual authentication is nothing but the involving parties identifies each other's identity. Here the two users, user A and user B, are involved in communication. Now let us see the diagram given in this slide. The diagram itself clearly explains the 6 steps involved in mutual authentication. Now we assume that each entity will have a copy of others' certificate, that is the certificate issued by certificate authority, which contains its public keys. The first step is establishing connection. Here the first entity, that is A, establishes a connection with the second entity to start the authentication process. So it gives, that is the first entity A gives its certificate to B. The certificate tells that who is A. Then only B is ready for the establishment of the connection. In the second step, B receives the certificates from A and check the certificate authority's digital signature to ensure that the CA actually signed the certificate and that certificate has not been tampered with. So in the third step, B checks the validity of CA based on the digital signature of CA, and it also extracts the public key of A. Now there is an interesting event carried out by B. B wants to make sure that A really is the entity identified in the certificate. So the B generates a random plain text message to A asking A to encrypt it. This interesting event is actually the step 4. Now in step 5, the very obedient A encrypts the message using its private key and sends it back to B. The next is step 6. So in step 6, the user B decrypts the encrypted message and it checks whether it matches with the original message. If it's so, B can trust A. Next, the same operations now happen in reverse. That means the step 2, 3, 4 and 5 are happened in reverse order. That means B sends A its certificate and A validates the B certificates and send a challenging message to be encrypted. Likewise, the connection is established with the mutual authentication process. Confidential communication. Actually, the default behavior of GSI starts with unencrypted communication. Why the unencrypted communication is the default behavior means the unencryption is short-lived. Just like OTP, it lives only for short period. So basically, the communication starts with unencryption. So mutual authentication is important aspect of the GSI. So after starting the communication, wherever the confidential communication is required, GSI will switch over from unencrypted communication to confidential communication. The private keys are secured in GSI in a neat manner. That is, the GSI software encrypts the user's private key via password and store it in the confidential location in computer's file system. Then the user has to enter the password to decrypt the file. Now I shortly once again explain the delegation and single sign-on. We know that GSI delegation reduces the repeated entry of password every time. And once if the user entered into the system, he can access the multiple resources and he can do multiple actions. Then proxy is created to manage mutual authentication and multiple resource access. Actually, proxy maintains new public key, private key and new certificate. This slide explains the 4 steps involved in user proxy creation. In step 1, the user gains access to the computer. In step 2, temporary credentials are created and sent to the proxy. And in step 3, after receiving the temporary credentials and certificate from the CA, the proxy credential are created. The proxy credential will contain a new certificate with a new public key and a new private key. And it also contains the owner's identity and modified slightly to indicate that it is a proxy. It also contains the starting and ending time related time notations. Once a proxy is created and stored, the user can use the proxy certificate and private key for mutual authentication without entering a password. This is actually done in step 4. Mutual authentication differs when proxies are used. The remote party receives the proxy certificate and signed by the owner and also the owner's certificate. So during mutual authentication, the owner's public key is used to validate the signature on the proxy certificate. So a proxy actually used to avoid the need to enter the password repeatedly. That's all about user proxy creation. I hope now you have clear idea about the grid security infrastructure. Thank you.